for Marcus Thuram. There was barely an opportunity there, and yet he shifted it out of his feet and hammered it into the top corner.
Well, we're into mid-August now, and unfortunately for the North, summer's a warm but wet summer is sort of coming to an end, and we've just had the end of the Olympics. So yes, I guess it is time for a new season of football, soccer football that is, all across Europe. Yeah, and I guess it is timely. It feels like a long time ago since Real Madrid comfortably beat Borussia Dortmund in the Champions League final to cap off the end of the club season in Europe. Yeah, of course, and I say it's almost just over the 2 month mark. Pre-season's kind of started, but we've all sort of been distracted by the Olympics. Of course, and then you had the Euros as well and the Copa America going on. So it kind of feels timely that we've got football back. Much as we all enjoyed the, all the one-off action of the tournaments, because, I mean, this cup season, I guess, is pretty much our bread and butter, and there's certainly a lot to look forward to. I think what I'll do is break on this squad. I'm just gonna focus on the leagues in the continent and also talk about the Champions League, because I think we might as well cover it here, because I much like many football fans don't quite understand the format, and I think we'll just have to see what happens. So we should start off with Spain, I guess, because they've got the reigning European champions. As I record this, Real Madrid is playing Atalanta in the UEFA Super Cup to kick off the season, and it looks like Real Madrid are going to be the team to beat in Spain and Europe. If anything, they've just seemed to have gotten stronger. I don't think Vinny's going anywhere to Saudi Arabia anytime soon. I think that was just a bit of maybe contract negotiations to get a higher wage salary, particularly with Mbappe there. And speaking of Mbappe, of course, it'll be interesting to see how he goes. Playing outside France for the first time, so this will be the real test to see how he copes. Look, I think he'll be a success at Real. He will offer something there. And I think Carlo Ancelotti, knows how to, he's pretty chilled, and knows how to get the best out of his players. It'll be, I guess, no Toni Kroos there, so it'll be interesting to see what happened with Jude Bellingham. Obviously, obviously Real Madrid have always gone through a lot of changes. I mean, they've lost Casemiro, they've now lost Toni Kroos. I think Modric will be out on his way soon. I mean, the guy can't play forever, so it'll be interesting to see whether Bellingham drops in a bit deeper, given the amount of talent that's up front. I mean, he was playing the free role a lot last season for Real Madrid and got a lot of goals. But with Mbappe there, with the amount of talent they've got in front, and of course Endrick to come. I think Bellingham might very well drop in, which I think would be good for England as well, because I think his future will certainly be in more as a central midfielder, controlling the amount of play. The biggest story, the most intriguing story this off season in Spain hasn't been with Real Madrid, though. I think it's actually a lot of the actions have been in the transfer market has been around their rivals Atletico Madrid, who have spent 120. I think it looks 120 million euros has been banned around players. I know that of course there's been the Conor Gallagher transfer from Chelsea to Atletico, which appears to have stalled because the player that Atletico wanted to send to Chelsea has failed medical. So that's kind of up in the air. But look, certainly there has been a lot of activity at Atletico Madrid. Whether it lifts them, into... I mean, look, they have always been title contenders, I guess, just on the same level as Real Madrid, Barcelona, which, is quite a big ask. But, certainly they are they should be at Spain's third best team. And yeah, look, I guess with Diego Simeone, look, I think it seemed like he was on his way out a few seasons ago, but and there was a lot of Atletico's playing style in the early first part of Diego's career has been around defensive discipline. They've been critics about the way they play, but I think they, to be fair to them, they have certainly evolved and become more versatile. And I think it helps when you have people like players like Griezmann, Morata, and all that. So yeah, so I think expect to see that evolution there. There's a feeling that El Chaco will very much, could very well have the job for life at Atletico. He could be the new Sir Alex Ferguson or at Atletico de Madrid. Barcelona. They somehow got Dani Olmo, so I don't know how they could afford it, but expect them to be. I'd still expect them to be, probably Real Madrid's closest rivals. Look, I guess, and then fourth place is always going to be interesting. I think you could pick out of Athletic Bilbao, Real Sociedad, Real Betis, Villarreal, even Sevilla if they can get it back again, because they've had a couple of bad seasons. I'm not sure Girona is going to repeat what happened last season. I think they're going to find that competing in the Champions League, maintaining it with such a small squad is, with the experience, it is going to be tricky. I don't think they'll be relegated. I think they have too many resources there. You're looking at your, promoted teams there. Brazilian Ronaldo's Valladolid's back up. You've got Leganes and then Espanyol. Although Espanyol have a lot of question marks about them. As always, Spain's going to be competitive. Outside the once you go from sixth to outside the sixth position. So it remains to be seen. Valencia might very well end up being part of that battle, unfortunately, particularly if they lose Georgia Mamadashvili to Liverpool. Apparently, I don't know why Liverpool's going there. I'll talk about that in the Premier League preview. But yeah, so that is La Liga. It will be, I think, it looks like it'll be, I think it is looking like it'll be Real Madrid's season, with Atletico and Barcelona pushing, even with all the internationals, all coming back from the exertions in Euro 2024 and Copa America. Yeah, so Italy is on a bit of an up, and I think you have to say Juventus possibly on the way up. They've got Thiago Motta. I think Max Allegri's probably time has probably lasted a bit longer than expected, and I think Thiago Motta remains to be seen whether he can make the step up. I don't think we're going to see the crazy 5-4-1 formation, or it's not 5-4. I'm sure it is, but it is something very radical. Where it's going to be slightly toned down, but nevertheless, it's the sort of thinking that Juventus have needed again. In their bid to, I think certainly Inter have had the edge on them tactically, and player wise and all that. And but Juventus, I think they still have always had the good players. And I guess really now it'll be interesting to see how they go against Thiago Motta. And I guess winning the Scudetto 3 times is. I guess it is going to be tricky for Inter. But look, certainly Serie A is looking like the league to look at in terms of competitiveness. I think Milan, it'll be interesting to see how they go with a new manager as well. And then you've always Lazio, Roma. I mean, possibly maybe Napoli if depending on who's still around at the club. And then you've got Atalanta. As for Bologna, it is a bit unfortunate that they've lost Motta and also Joshua Zirkzee at the same time, just as they're about to embark on their historic maiden Champions League campaign. And that is a bit of a bummer, but look, they still have a couple of good players in there. I guess there's a bit of Scottish bias there, but so Serie A certainly, I think, out of all the continental leagues, I think Serie A certainly looks like the most competitive, most intriguing one, and it's good to see Italian football back on its way up after a couple of tough years. Briefly on who's come up in Italy. You've got Venezia, who were in Serie A couple of seasons ago, and always, and they were there. They had their great home jersey, and yeah, they're probably the team I just like seeing their home games. It's just because it's the one team that plays in Venice, which, as you know, Venice is a city in the middle of the lagoon, and they need to take boats to get to the stadium, and it's just. I know it's rickety, but it's just so iconic and so Venetian. You've got, and then on the flip side, you've got Como. A lot of star power celebrities. You got Cesc Fabregas. They've got an Adidas deal. Yeah, it'll be interesting. I think a lot of investment there, so they might be a surprise package to stay up. I do remember when the last Como team got relegated, and they got into a lot of trouble there. But Como is a gorgeous place in Italy, so if that is one place you want to play professional football, it is certainly Como. So it will be interesting and of course, yes, and Parma, of course, back in the top flight. They back in the day they used to be one of the giants in Italy, but of course times have changed now. They don't have Parma like backing anymore, so yeah. It will be interesting to see how they go. Of course, the battle at the bottom of Serie A is always tight. So yes, so we shall see what happens there. Yeah, so the Bundesliga is in an interesting shape, and I think certainly that is good for everyone. I think, yeah, unless you're a Bayern Munich fan. I mean, even Bayern Munich fans are kind of. I think that they are secretly happy that it is a bit more exciting because I think, let's be honest, winning 10 titles in a row can get, it makes things boring after a while, and certainly it is refreshing to see, a new name at the top. And I think Bayer Leverkusen have a good chance of retaining their title. And I guess the goal now for Xabi Alonso is possibly the Champions League, because Bayer Leverkusen, of course, have had they do have some history in the Champions League. They did make a Champions League final all those years ago, and of course they'll remember the Zidane wonder goal in Scotland. Perhaps that might be their goal, particularly. Might be a chance. If let's say like some Verts from Gramado and all those guys end up going to other more sexier clubs around Europe. But certainly, I think the Bayer Leverkusen certainly have kept most of their personnel, and I think they would be favourites to retain their title. But I think Bayern Munich will be, they will certainly be back. It'll be interesting to see how Vincent Kompany goes at a top club. Look, I think it is a on optics, hiring someone from a club a club that that struggled to I think for all intents really didn't struggle to stay up in the Premier League. It just seems like a weird call, but I think when you look into it, I think the way what Burnley have done, what Kompany has done, you can see why Bayern Munich do it. Look, he stuck with his guns, and even when he chose, Burnley could have easily gone and parked the bus, but to stay up, but they didn't. So I think that's what Bayern Munich's hierarchy was looking for, and it will remain to be seen. It certainly is the. It certainly is the it will be a big call, but I think I think they have the elements to be good. Harry Kane had a stellar debut season. I think it will be remains to be seen. He did have that injury that kind of scuppered his progress at Euro 2024. So that is a big question mark. And there's certainly a couple of weaknesses that need to be addressed with Bayern Munich before they can properly challenge and retain their title at the top. But I think, as always, Bayern Munich are always they will always be Germany's most powerful club, and so it will be remains to be seen. The other question is whether Dortmund or I guess can Dortmund or Stuttgart, even Stuttgart, can make a challenge, or RB Leipzig make a challenge. So certainly very, very interesting times for the Bundesliga, which has always been a very opening league to follow in terms of goals. Yeah, so I've talked about Spain, Italy, and Germany because they are obviously the three top leagues on the continent. But yeah, it'll be a bit. I guess it'll be a bit remiss of me not to talk briefly about the other leagues. I guess we start with France, who's always been considered the next biggest league outside Spain, Italy, Germany on the continent. Yeah, and certainly look was certainly a very the summer started with a lot of uncertainty and gloom for French football. There wasn't a TV deal in place. That's now been sorted. They've, although, yeah, I mean, unfortunately for League One, they pretty much had to sort it out desperately. Otherwise, it'd been laughable if they started the season without a TV deal. Just, given they're one of the top teams in. Top leagues in the world. That's sorted out. They've got a deal with the zone, although it's certainly been cut price far less than what they expected. But and then of course you had this, and then you had the story around Bordeaux. Look, they've been out of the top flight for a number of seasons now, but seeing a big club like that, former champions as recently as 2009, and in the Champions League, produced a lot of great players. And certainly Zidane's played there. To see them going out of, effectively going out of business. It is a sad indictment on French football, but it just shows you how hard French football has to compete with the giants. And certainly, it doesn't help that they've got people who are not exactly kosher going after their clubs. So I think certainly, we've talked about, there are lots of videos about the sad decline of Bordeaux. But look, French football, France will always continue to produce a lot of talent. I think certainly on the back of the Olympics, there's going to be a fresh, interest in sport. And certainly, I think there'll be a lot of people looking towards the new Ligue 1 season that starts. And there's French football is always going to be brimming with talent. And then PSG certainly in a very good position now. They place themselves as rather like a place for young players, young future Galacticos rather than just buying Galacticos. And it will be certainly interesting to see how they go. I think they have learned how to play about Kylian Mbappe, and that is a lot of talent. Zaire Emery, all those players. We certainly want to watch in Europe, and I guess maybe they kind of will regret not being able to beat Dortmund in the semi-finals of the Champions League, because when you lose in the semis, that's always kind of gutting. But look, I think they'll be back. PSG, as they will continue to be the powerhouses in France. I think. Who next? I guess. It is a really toss-up coin. Marseille will be there. Monaco. Hopefully Lyon. Lyon after such a horrendous start, it's appeared to found some stability. Remains to be seen whether they can continue that. Of course, there's always the issues with John Textor and the ownership there. And then you've got your Nice, Lille. Of course, then you've got Saint Etienne who are back in the top flight. A huge club there. It'll be interesting to see what happens. And then you've got, we've got the Dutch and Portuguese leagues have already started. There are always two leagues you kind of look up at as well. In the Netherlands, look, certainly Feyenoord post Arne Slot. Will they be as competitive as they were? The form books, the book says probably not. PSV will probably be the team to beat. Ajax, Ajax still remain under a big cloud of uncertainty. Of course, Van Nistelrooy's left to go to Manchester United. So, and then in Portugal, look, I think Amorim is still somehow at Sporting Lisbon. So I think they'll be possibly the team to beat. And then you've got Porto, Benfica, who Benfica are. Somehow still there, even though with all their issues, off the field, but they just still continue. They still remain a magnet for players coming over from South America. So they'll always be thereabouts. So it's certainly interesting. Lots to look around the continent. And I guess, quickly looking at the Champions League, and I guess we should talk about the Europa League and the Conference Leagues. Qualifiers have already gone underway as I speak. And then the group the draw for the group stages will be done later at the end of August. As you know, we've already covered it. The format it is expanding, and the format that we knew with the 8 groups of 4 is gone. We're going to the Swiss League format, which I still can't work out what's going on. It's all I know. It's going to be the draw it's going to be random. It's going to be drawn by computer, and yeah, it effectively is the European Super League was trying to be, and yeah, it was really to appease the big club, the big clubs in the Premier League, La Liga, Bundesliga, and Serie, so that they don't form their own Super League and get more, they get more games, guaranteed games early on. This new Swiss round robin, I can't really call it round 1. Is going to be much longer, so it will go past the Christmas break. It'll go in fact, there will be games in January. Kind of like so this is a bit of a first for the Champions League. Even back in the day when they had two rounds of round robin fixtures, they had that January break. So this is going to be, they had to because there are going to be more games to play. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes. And then there's a round of 32. I should say I believe it is top 8 in each group that goes through, and then there is a playoff for the rest of the spots. So look, we're just gonna have to watch and see how this pans out. I certainly like the thought of like Aston Villa, Bologna, Girona, Stuttgart being in the Champions League. And so it will be interesting to see how they go. And it's certainly I think last season was the right time to get in because, they are going to be they are going to experience a massive windfall in terms of revenue, even if they don't quite progress. So certainly it will be an interest. This will be one of intrigue. My concern is I guess the drag, I think that whether fans are going to be a bit bored with this extended round of games. Yes, more big games in Europe, but I guess I know the knockouts don't always start till February, but just I kind of feel like maybe it might just feel like a bit of a maybe there might be a bit of fatigue towards December, but we shall see what happens. So that is a look at the European leagues and the UEFA leagues. What are your thoughts? Who's going to win the leagues across the continent? Who's going to win the Champions League, Europa League, Conference League? Who's going to surprise? Who's going to go down? Like to hear your thoughts. And look, of course, if you like this video, and don't forget to subscribe.